It says you're live.
Welcome to the Gospel according to Kinison. And I am your man, I am your illustrious host, Bill Kinison. And I want to welcome you to a program of good news. Good news. That's what we try to teach here. Sherry, we get a lot of prayer requests every week. If we just spent the time mentioning the people that have got a hold of us to ask us to pray, that would be our entire program. And but we do, Sherry and I do pray. We pray for each one of them. There are a few that we mention every week that I ask that you pray. And we've got a few today. Jim Norder, a comedian, his daughter, Allie, has been diagnosed with lymphoma. And I want to remember them in prayer and her in prayer. Also, I want to remember we talked about Mike Eisenberg last week, that fighting pancreatic cancer, was diagnosed, has stage 4, and we also mentioned a GoFundMe for him and his beautiful wife, Kimberly. Also, there was a gentleman named Bud Jennis. He reached out to me. He's a minister. He reached out to me a few years ago over the problems he was having in the denomination that he was in. And he's in serious, serious condition. I want you to remember him in your prayers. Then I have a friend, Jen Garfinkel Conseco, that her stepfather passed suddenly this past week, and we want prayers for her mother, and the entire family. And then we have one more. And I had written down, pray for his recovery. And he transitioned, I guess it was yesterday, wasn't it, Sherry?
Yes.
And that's a gentleman named Tom Thomas. And most of you in California, Southern California, you'll know who I'm talking about. He was a councilman there in Upland for years, literally years. He also, I believe he and his wife Ann, weren't they one of the first patrons that signed up to be patrons at your theater?
They were the first.
I remember that they were always so proud to talk about that, and they have 3 daughters, Liz, Katie, and Maggie, and they grew up in our theater. And Liz is a fantastic singer. And I was trying to think this morning, Sherry, we did a play. I don't know if it's called Little Women or For Women or...
Quilters.
Okay, well, there wasn't any women in it. It was quilters.
And it was, yes, Ann, Katie, and Liz, all 3 did.
I thought Maggie was in it too.
I don't think Maggie was.
Okay, well, anyhow, the 3 of them were in that, and I just enjoyed that so much, and it was such a good play, and they kicked me out of the theater twice, if I remember correctly, because I would sit there, and they would sing songs, and it brought me back to my childhood and listening to my grandparents. And I thought that I was singing underneath my breath, and nobody could hear me. And the problem is, I guess I was in the front row for one of them, and I was singing along with them with my eyes closed. And an usher in my own theater came down, knocked me on the shoulder and said, Bill, Sherry said you have to get up and get out of here. They can hear you singing. And so I thought, all right, I understand that. So later on, I was watching another time that they were showing, or they were performing it, and I was in the back of the theater. And they didn't send the usher this time. Sherry came herself and said, get out of the auditorium. They can hear you singing. But that's how much that I enjoyed and how much that moved me with Ann and Liz and Katie in it.
And Tom never missed a performance.
I'm trying to think, was he ever he never missed a performance, but was he ever in a play?
He was the voice from the audience that we needed a couple times.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he was. But he was a very busy man. He had his own insurance brokerage. He was our insurance man at the theater. And I don't know how many committees and commissions that I served on with him there, and him serving. Also, when I was on the planning commission, he was on the city council. We had many joint sessions where we were together, and I considered Tom a friend. I think he considered me a friend.
And he's responsible for the bike path in Upland and Claremont.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we did have a railroad track that was just junk and all kinds of people hanging out there, and he got the city to make that a beautiful bike path. And he was a biker. I want to mention that because he wasn't like me or you or some of the rest of us that ride around the neighborhood. He rode miles all the time.
Him and Ken Deshawn did a couple of the 100-mile Tour de France.
And they also did what they call mountain riding. And this week, I think on Thursday or Friday, I guess, he went for a ride and was hit on his bicycle by a person on a motorcycle going 40 miles an hour. And the injuries were just too devastating for him to sustain. And be very honest with Sherry, it's very difficult for me to talk about it, because I know how close he and his family, he had 4 grandchildren, and how close all of them were. And I want you to remember them in prayer.
Yes.
And then I'm going to say, like I have got to where I'm saying it all the time now, or pretty often, now he knows the secret. And for you that watch me, you know what I'm talking about. For you that don't, Betty White, one of the last things she put in her book was about her mother. And her mother said that she doesn't really is afraid of death anymore. And that all that we know and all that we're going to know, we don't know anything about death. And so she got to where when she went to a funeral, she would turn around to Betty and would say, now he knows the secret. Well, now Tom knows the secret. And our hearts and prayers go out to him. I feel like there's so much more that I could say, but he was a friend. He was a friend, and he literally dedicated his life to serving people. Even after he decided not to be on the city council anymore, and he was there for years, I think he was still a member of the San Antonio Water Board up until he just recently passed. So remember Ann and Liz and Katie and Maggie and those 4 grandchildren. Remember them in prayer if you would. I would appreciate it. Sherry, you keep looking there. Is there anything you want to tell me?
We have lots of wonderful people watching this morning. I'm sorry I haven't been able to say hello, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Well, how do you know they're all
Bill.
wonderful?
Because they wouldn't be watching us if they weren't.
You know, I put on a little thing this week. On Wednesday, I put out a little lesson. And matter of fact, I've got it right here, but I'll get into it next week. I don't want to waste the time now, but it was about, well, I'll read it. It's not that long. I don't care how hard you work. This is what I wrote Wednesday. If you have the poverty idea in your mind, you are never going to get out of poverty. You will never have enough money to meet your needs. You must accept the idea of abundance. You must accept the idea of prosperity. I like the way the Bible expresses overflowing abundance in the 23rd Psalm, the 5th verse. In that psalm, David simply says, my cup runneth over. My cup runs over. That tells me that people ought to have overflowing abundance. Here's one thing I could never understand growing up in a fundamental religion. We would recite the 23rd Psalm and say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. At the same time, we would say money is evil. But let me ask you, why do you scrape and scratch so hard to get money if it's evil? Why do you get up so early and work so late? But I say that you should have overflowing abundance. My cup runs over. To me, that means, and I transliterated it, my life overflows with every kind of good. You are the manifestation of your ideas in your mind. The money that you have exactly matches the kind of ideas that you have in your mind. The condition that you have, that you are in, exactly matches the kind of ideas that you entertain in your mind. Someone has said beautifully, ideas make millionaires. Well, you cannot be a millionaire if you do not have the correct relationship with money. I don't care how you pray. Money is to be used. Money is to be enjoyed. Money is to serve you. And a person's function in relation to money is to be the master of money. Make sure that your mind is at peace with money. For money comes to you through your mind. Everything comes to you through your very own mind. Sure, I thought that was really good. But I really upset a couple people. I didn't know who they were. And I found out that that really there are two subjects that people get emotional about. You look like you want to say something.
Ann just said that she so appreciates your words more than you'll ever know.
Thank you. Let me just have a second here. All right. Boy, you don't make it easy, Sherry.
You asked.
You don't. I'm just doing the best I can to get through this. You know what? While I'm talking about that one here, I've got I don't know where we're going this morning, folks. I'm like Joe Biden. I don't know. But I wanted to read. Okay, here is one of the responses. I don't ordinarily do this, but I found it to be humorous. It doesn't upset me. But this lady wrote, and I don't know who she is, I don't believe what you say is right. The first part, what you said is cruel and wrong. People are in poverty. Don't stay in poverty because that's what they believe. I don't think it's right for anybody to judge anybody. I think you just judge people. I'm really upset about your post, and I read the whole thing all the way through twice. I hate people that judge. Hate's a strong word. I never use that, but she just used it on me. I never use that because I never do judge. I try not to really. I do deep inside for my soul, but now I found this to be humorous, Sherry, because she says she don't ever judge, but she's doing a pretty good job of it. Mm-hmm. And then she goes on and goes, I'm Muslim. Well, we have a lot of Muslim folks that watch us. And this is not, and I hope you don't think that I think this is indicative of Muslims. It's not. But she said, I'm Muslim. I'm going to stay Muslim. I'm poor. I'm going to stay poor. I guess I shouldn't be laughing, but I just found it to be humorous. I'm going to stay poor. In my heart, in my soul, for people that judge people like you. I don't know what that meant. This is the first time I haven't liked any of you guys' post. So she reads them, I guess. I don't know if she watches our program. And then she goes on and says, I met you guys before, and what you guys post said the way some of us would be in our lives is so cruel. To actually write something like that. I know a lot of people that are homeless. It's not their fault. And needs to be said, if you have it, why wouldn't you say on stupid stuff? It just goes on and on. You know, pretty soon it got to where it didn't make much sense. It didn't make much sense, I thought, to start with. And And believe me, I'm not upset with her. I'm not upset with the other gentleman that, I don't know if he took his post down or somebody took it down and everything else. But folks, you have to be committed. Now let me get on another issue here, and we may not be on here next week. I don't know with Facebook. But I feel I have to address this Ukraine-Russia war that's going on. I've watched with admiration of the Ukrainian people. The word that just came to me as I kept watching them is commitment. I watched an old lady stand in front of a young Russian soldier. He had his gun and everything, and she's standing there with a bag of seeds. And she told him, put these seeds in your pocket. That way when you die, the seeds will still grow. I watched a 79-year-old grandmother with a rifle and was all posed to shoot it. And they said something to her and asked her, I guess, why she's doing this. And she said, I'm going to fight for my grandchildren.
That's me.
Actually, I said that was Sharon. Commitment. Think about that. I watched an old man who was asked if he was going to leave, and he said, I will not leave. I don't know how to use a gun, but I will get a knife in the kitchen and I will kill any Russian, I'm not going to use the word he did, but I'll kill anyone that comes into my house. An old man. These stories just kept going and going and going. Commitment. They were committed. Now let me say something. It's time for us to quit being Democrats. It's time for us to quit being Republicans or Libertarians or Independents, liberals or conservatives. And it's time to be an American. These people are fighting because they don't want another country to come in and tell them what they can and cannot do. They want to live like the Western world lives. And you've got Putin from Russia that just wants the country because years and years ago it belonged to the Russians. And he's willing to kill them. They came out with an alert this morning that he has put his nuclear defense on alert. Now, folks, some of you may really get upset with me, but I'm going to say it the way I think it is. Here in the United States, we would not allow another country to come in here and tell us what to do. But yet, we have a government that is doing that. And they're smart. They control the media. They control their technical big tech. And they tell us when we can be on the streets sometimes, when we can't. No matter what, I remember that Sherry and I owned a restaurant and it had a bar in it. Well, we didn't allow smoking from the time that we built it, or actually redid it after we bought it. We didn't allow smoking. Then the state of California wanted to outlaw smoking in bars. And you know what? I was against that, even though we didn't allow it in ours. The reason was every little bit of freedom that you give up, you're not getting back. Every little freedom that you give up, you're not going to get it back. I rode motorcycles for years. I love riding my motorcycle. I always rode with a helmet. Then the state of California made a law that you had to wear a helmet. And you know what? I remember I was on the radio at the time, on CNN radio, there in San Bernardino. I was against that law because every little bit of liberty that you give up, you're not going to get back. I want you to remember that. Whatever you give up, you're not going to get back. Be committed. Be committed. I believe there is something we can do. I believe there's something we can do with the war that's going on. I wish for just maybe 5 minutes I was the president. I don't figure I can do too much. Sherry's already laughing. I think I couldn't do too much damage in 5 minutes. And so for 5 minutes, I'd like to be a president long enough to open up the spigots of our oil, of our natural gas, of our natural fuel. For one thing, you want to stop Putin, then sanction his oil and let us start producing our own. Now, I know for the people that's in Green Deal or whatever, you're fuming right now. Well, let me tell you something. How good is that working out in Ukraine with all the bombs and everything that they're shooting right now? If this ends up in a war in Europe, and God forbid if it ends up with a war with us, how's that going to work out for your Green Deal? And I just had to get that off my chest. I was going to answer some questions on that little thing on Wednesday, and we'll do that next week. I want to get on something else. I don't know, how much time do we have, Sherry? Hope I haven't taken all our time.
10 minutes.
Oh, I got plenty of time then. You see, I told you earlier, I found that there are two subjects that people get emotional about. One is if I talk about poverty. The other is, ironically and surprisingly to me, is if I speak about forgiveness, not unforgiveness. Poverty and forgiveness. I want to say a little something. This message, and I've said this from the beginning, this message is not for everybody. And I understand that. And I'd like to have everybody in the world listen to me. That's not going to happen. And I'm going to teach you as much as I can if there's 5 people or if there's 500,000 people. It doesn't make any difference to me. I remember when I was on the road managing Sam, preachers had blacklisted me. And Sherry and I were basically done in what they called the ministry. And back then you didn't have computers that you could find everything that you wanted on there. So I carried my study books with me. And I remember Sam came into my room and to talk, and he noticed all of my material around there, and he said, "What are you doing, Bill?" And I said, "I've just been studying." And he goes, "Bill, you're never going to preach again. They ruined you. They're never going to allow you to preach again." And I told him, I said, "Sam, I don't study to preach or to teach. I study for me. This is for me. It teaches me how to overcome in life. That's why I do it. And I love it." I want to repeat, this message is not for everyone. Only for those that have ears to hear what we're teaching. God either opens your ears or he doesn't. Sherry and I, we didn't start teaching this message after we could live comfortably. We started when we had nothing. We both lived in low-income projects as we grew up. Her in Rockford, Illinois, me in Peoria, Illinois. We were raised as poor Pentecostal kids. That's what we were called. We met when I just got in the ministry and really just started teaching this message. We taught this message when we had $300 to our name when we got married. We taught this message when she slept in the back seat of the car and I slept in the front seat. We taught this message when we gave our last dollar to those that needed it more than we did. If we were given an automobile, and we were several times, if we were given an automobile at a crusade, we turned around and gave it to someone that needed an automobile because we already had one in that same service. We taught this message when we had to stay booked every week because we didn't have a place to live. I'm opening up our Sherry out of the room, probably good because she would not like me telling you this. We started this ministry when it began with only a handful of faithful supporters. As more and more people joined this ministry, we became known as the couple who teaches, don't wait for the pie in the sky. That's what they used to say it about me. We became spiritual advisors to thousands of people of all races and religions, and even to those with no religion. We taught them that the God in you is your unlimited source of good. Okay, I got to clean it up. She's back now. The Kinisons attracted people from all walks of life. Is that true, Sherry?
Yes.
Ordinary people, the rich, the poor, the famous, movie stars, musical icons, political figures, sports champions, even preachers, teachers, priests, and rabbis. In our own family, we've seen it work for my brother Richard, who was born severely mentally handicapped and blind. But all he heard me and heard my father teach was this message. At the age of 13, was miraculously healed, not with someone praying for him. He actually said an angel appeared to him and said, the healing is inside of you. I look at my brother Sam. He decided to get in comedy because he got blacklisted. And he decided to get in comedy. Somebody said, what was he blacklisted for? Oh, he got a divorce. And that was unspeakable, unpardonable in our circles. And Sherry, he slept on tabletops in clubs where he performed because he didn't have a place to stay. He used to walk to the comedy store because he didn't have a car and had nothing to eat and would eat the fruits they put in the drinks, the lemons and the olives and all that kind of stuff. Sherry and I, we used to, was pastoring, and we would send him $500 every month. And since we figured we were going to have to do that, we decided might as well build our credit. So we'd send him the $500, we'd pay it back, and then we'd borrow another $500 every month and send it to him. But he believed in the God in him. He believed when no one believed that he was going to be successful. And he was. If it works for them, it'll work for you. I keep notes on everything. And this week, as I was going over this, I thought I'm gonna bring out some of the notes that I have kept. One of them I said is you will never get any further in life than the ideas in your mind. So it's really important that you feed your mind the right ideas. Don't blame other people if you're not getting it. See, ideas in your mind is what you're going to get. Another thing I said, everything good comes from the God in you, within you. That's where it comes from. God put something inside all of us that will not let us down. And you know what it was? Himself. His presence. Another one was, make sure that your mind is at peace with wealth, health, and success. Everything comes to you, again, through your very own mind. Another one, flatly reject what you don't want in your life. Just reject it. Another one, the God within you has ways of bringing about that which you decide you want. All you have to do is make the decision of exactly what it is you want. Another one was, the more you become aware of the power of your mind, the power of your word, the more you will demonstrate it. One I really liked, Sherry, that I found was, and I've used this in my own life, and so have you. You should be your biggest fan. You should. Not other people. You should be your biggest fan. I know to some people that may sound like egotism and being arrogant, because you have been taught for the most part in fundamental religion to depreciate yourself. But if you don't think you're anything, you're not going to be anything. No one else is going to think you're anything. The first person that you need to impress. Have you ever heard the saying that always make a good first impression? Well, the first person that you need to impress, that you need to make a favorable impression on, is you. It's you. Only one thing saves you or sinks you, brings you success or failure, and that is what you believe about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop. But sure, we can go on to 3 o'clock today.
I think you'll lose a whole lot of people if you do.
Oh, and here you tell me what a great speaker I am.
You are.
That you're just mesmerized by him, and then as soon as 30 minutes are up, you go, all right, you got to get off. I got things to do. All right, well, I love every one of you. Sherry loves you. Heavenly Father, I thank you. I thank you for giving us life and liberty. I ask that you touch these families that we mentioned this morning, and touch everyone that's listening to me that have a need. Let them know that the answer is within them. God, be the healing balm of Gilead to those that are hurting. Be their healer. Be their comforter. Be their father. I'll give you all the praise. Amen. God love every one of you. God bless America. We'll see you next week.
Valerie Josso and Joe Sumter said, preach on, they'll stay.
Okay, all right. Well, for you that's going to hang around here, wait a minute, let me find a good one here here's a good one, Sherry.
Oh.
Don't listen to anyone's negative talk. Even if it's your wife, don't listen to it. No, I found out a long time ago you can only listen as long as your butt can sit. So we're going to let you go, but we will be back next week. I love you. And I really mean that, and Sherry means that from her heart. We love you all. You are our family.
She'll listen all day too.
Well, that's 3. Wait a minute, I think that's how we started out in this thing, wasn't it? For you that don't know, and I am going to get off here, the way we started this Facebook thing is we had a church in the theater there in Upland. And man, changing the sets from Saturday night to Sunday morning service and back for a Sunday. Do this for Sunday, it'll wear out, and we'll all go back to our lives. And it went the other direction, by the way. It not only did it not fizzle out, last that I knew of, we're running over 3,000 people that watch us on Facebook and on YouTube. and I love it. I love it. I can't tell you how much I look forward to this. And also, I want to mention for you all that want to take a nice cruise, Sherry and I we're going to be on the cruise in June. 24, 25, 26. Is that right, Sherry?
Yeah, we'll be back on the 26th. It's just a 3-day quick
Yeah,
cruise.
just a quick 3-day cruise. And I think it's 400 and something a person. And
Contact Cheryl Morin or contact me and I'll send you Cheryl's info. We'd love to see you all.
you know, it would be like when Jim Baker built his theme park. Sherry's going, oh.
Yeah.
But you remember when he built his theme park?
Yeah.
And he actually said, now you won't have to ride the rides with sinners. And so this way, well, I don't know though.
It's time to stop.
It's time to stop. I love you, and I've got to go. God bless you.